The floods in Pakistan and India over the major rice growing regions are real, but the AI videos coming out, you got to be more discerning. The rice prices up and up, and the way our reality is being bent by fake videos. I'm going to point out a few in the floods, so let's get into it. Raging torrents coming down across both nations. There was so much water from incredible rains that the dams had to be opened or else they were going to overtop. And what we get is these images here from drones. As far as you can see, areas along rivers have turned into 5-10 mile wide swaths of wetlands suddenly. Water has to go somewhere, and you're going to either get overtopping dams cascading down that will never be rebuilt, or you let the water go. And this is what's been the choice: let the water go. The images coming out are quite striking. It just image after image of water, cities, towns as far as the eye can see. And you get a good idea of about how deep it is here. So we're in a mosque. You got to figure that's at least 8 feet tall, 8 feet deep in the water. And this seems to be over an enormous amount of these drainage basin areas, because when you come out of Himalayan mountains, Jammu, Kashmir, you can see how it flattens out. So if you're up at the top right or to the northeast or the northwest, Afghanistan there, and Peshawar in Pakistan, you see how it comes out of the mountains and it just flows down. Now, this is a area here so far. Again, this is being updated on 29, 30, and it's going to continue because the full amount of water hasn't made it even to Lahore yet. But you can see so far in the Indus River, should make a big bell go off in your head. Indus River, the Indus Valley, the civilizations, the cradle of civilization. So these areas were once wet, just like this, but now they've dried out for 3,000 years. Now they're becoming wet again. But you can see the same areas here is where they decided to put the croplands because it was so fertile and flat. Now it's filling up with 4 feet, 5 feet of water. Doesn't matter, still destroying your crops. So here's your Pakistan rice production. Punjab there, also Indian side and Pakistani side, but Punjab 50% plus of the rice production. That's tremendously dented, let's say. And then if you go down to Sindh, that whole area is completely underwater. So between those two there, you're looking at 90% of Pakistan's rice production gone or severely damaged to the point of the minimal production at best. And I thought, all right, well, I've done a couple of videos on this talking about rice shortages using AI, forecasting out, telling me where the crop losses were for rice producers. It was already a 10% loss for the year anyway. But if you start to overlay these maps here, you can see where the floodwaters are on the left, completely burying the Sindh province. Like I say, the rivers up in Lahore, I have some close-ins from Centennial Satellite. The Lahore floods are actually coming down and cascading through right now, which is and are progress spilling over through the Punjab. And I have some flooded region maps here for you. But on this rice map, you'll notice where it says Khyber. Well, that's the Khyber Pass. And I'd planned to visit there many years ago, but things just got a little sketchy and it just didn't work out. But this is the Jamrod Fort. Now, this is at the Khyber Pass. Now, you can notice there's several layers of this built over different times. This is an aerial photo from 1921. And then if we zoom in, we get the original structure. That's the original. Then it was fortified again and again and again. So you can see how things moving through history from 1600s, these types of forts were built by the Raj. If you're getting close to retirement or just thinking ahead, you've probably done a solid job of saving. But here's something most people don't consider. How much of that money is just sitting in cash? It might feel safe, but holding too much cash guarantees one thing: you're losing purchasing power. Inflation eats away at it, and the dollar's value keeps slipping. That's why more people are looking at real assets like physical gold and silver to protect their savings. And one company makes that easy: Noble Gold Investments. You can buy gold, silver, coins, bars. They'll ship to your home, or you can have it stored securely. It's a smart way to convert cash into something that actually holds value. Visit 2030gold.com. That's 2030gold.com. Because when you own real assets, you own real wealth. And please remember, Noble Gold, fair, transparent. They're not going to pressure you. They're going to give you actual information and real options in which to make good decisions. Again, that's 2030gold.com. Click on that link in the description box below. It's one of these areas in Jammu and Kashmir to be able to go trekking. So it's kind of what it looks like. Now, they're used to snowpack melt coming out of there anyway, but not these record floods that are piling up on the mountains and just dumping out, where our entire jet stream flow has caused them to go sideways down the mountains to straight into the mountains. Now, the flows are very different. You got 25,000 foot mountain range all along here. And instead of flowing next to it and going around it, it's dumping out as it's hitting it. So an entirely new pattern is forming, which would make sense from the Indus Valley civilization, that they must have had a different weather pattern flow too, or else we wouldn't have called it a cradle of civilization, because it's really dry there now. We don't get that. Milk and honey, forest, all those tales of ancient lands, that's where that came from. It's bone dry now. It was wet. So obviously something had switched. Now here's the Punjab region. How heavily covered is this here? So how much of that is underwater in their main rice growing region is the question. So if we look over here into the India side, Punjab number 3 up there. I remember 1947, they split the Punjab in half, and then they caused political woes by doing that. So you can see Punjab region, 3rd highest production region for India, and then Pakistan as well. This is going to cause tremendous price rises for these local, nations themselves. But on the international market, they're also going to be looking for more to substitute what's being lost. You can't lose your 3rd largest producer. They produce what, 11.5 million tons. And that goes down to near zero. Where's that extra going to come from? And then Pakistan, they're going to be near almost no production. They're going to need to find something. And Myanmar as well also had devastation from the big earthquakes over there. They didn't get planted on time, nothing. So you got these nations you can see on this map all needing rice because they can't grow enough this year. So this is just a perfect example of how longer term cycles are driving food prices in our current time. Now, looking at these images from some videos, I grabbed some stills out of there. On the right side, this is where the farm fields are growing rice. And you can see that levee there. They're trying to save the levee, because on the other side is their rice fields now being flooded. So that production is gone. And these guys are, I was so sad at the end of the video. They started almost crying because they lost everything. They don't have crop insurance over there. They get the money, take out loans sometimes to produce all that, and that's totally gone. So who's going to give them money? I'm sure the Pakistani government is not going to. And then to add insult to injury, the fields that were safe, they decided to blow the levees or the river embankments to stop flooding into Jang City. Now, this is happening all the way along, from the mountains all the way down through Lahore. Anywhere that this water is going to go and flood a city, they're willing to destroy their food production and food supply to save the cities, which makes no sense for me. It'd be the opposite. Flood the city, save the food. But this is a once in a 1,000-year flood that they're experiencing here. The amount of waterfall and water coming down out of the Himalaya there, it's uncontrollable at the moment. Everything's full throttle, everything's full open, and it's still like cresting and overtopping even though everything's full open. And here's a perfect example. Now, I don't know if this was a purposeful demolition to allow the water to flow through, or if this was a natural breakthrough, but this is all that you see behind there is farm fields flooded. You can even see some of the rice on the left side there. This is happening across all the entire regions, and then further down through Pakistan as well. Now, India has a little bit better flood control. I saw some videos of cities right next to each other, right on the border, when they do the changing of the guard every day. Now, this is how much water is coming and being let into. You see these things, you're like, what are they thinking? Food's already really expensive in Pakistan anyway. It's something like 45% of the monthly total of what you earn goes to food. Now, this is going to create the most amount of civil unrest. So these are coming off satellite views here for you. Now, look how wide in breadth it is. Now, near Narwhal, that's where the border for Pakistan, India is. See Lahore on the west side there. That's over in Pakistan. And Amritsar, that's the Golden Temple in India, in the Punjab. So you can see how wide those rivers are. We're talking 20, 30 miles wide of flooding going out off of that. At least some places were 50 miles wide in the floods, all through the croplands. And if we look at Lahore on the map here, pink, that's going to be your This is north of Lahore and Dera Baba Nanak. And you can see how wide it came through the city there. This is a large city, and these tributaries are just continuously flowing. And if you look at Pasur a little bit to the north and west up there, surrounded by floodwaters now, bridges are out, roadways are out, and everywhere you see the blue trickles is once in a 1,000-year flood that's destroying all the infrastructure and everything that's associated with it that goes off of there for irrigation. They're just allowing it to dump into the fields. And this is south of Lahore, a little bit south and to the west. You get Sultanpur and Mangamandi, as they said in the video. But the floodwaters are also beginning to spread further afield from here. Some of these areas are only 2 or 3 miles wide on the floods. Others are up to 10 miles wide. But this is going to continue to spread outwards. These are just some of the first initial assessments. And again, this is Copernicus on the 27th. This was a couple of days ago, and the floodwater's still coming down. Now we get over onto the Indian side here to Sultanpur Lodi, and that's already, you can see it's getting incredible wide. I tried to look down in the Hikari wetlands, but I couldn't find a before and after photo of it to compare on a satellite view. So I just, you got to realize this is some incredible floods. Like just the width and the breadth of them is incredible. So here is the before, and you can see how confined the rivers are in there, and then the after. And that's quite some difference there. So I'll put them together for you here, the 21st of August to the 28th of August. That's a quick moving floods, A. Very little time to prepare. A lot, apparently, just everybody was caught off guard on how fast, how incredibly ferocious and silent and fast this just came down. Now, I do want to show you this here also. Be discerning when you're watching the videos. I looked at this, and when I first saw it, I was like, oh, wow, look at all those, the cattle, that's an enormous amount of money for Pakistan. You have that many cattle. And then I was watching the video, and I was like, looks pretty clean. And sure enough, turns out to be AI generated. Because when I was looking at it, I was like, damn, that's really, look how clean the environment is. Everything's just so like crispy almost. And I thought it was somebody filming, and I was like, well, maybe they had a drone, or maybe they're in the building filming down. I wasn't sure exactly, but you can see the AI generated on the left. So they circled it in red. What are you looking for? Well, you're going to be looking a little bit closer in. You can see the cattle pens, and what do we got? Well, we have a half cow, half sheep sharing the same body. That's what you got. And then on the left here, you have a bucket that has no bottom that the water's pouring through, but it couldn't because it's full of clothing and some sort of bag of something. So you couldn't get that velocity of water pouring through that empty bucket. So this is absolutely AI generated, but it's such a good job. I was shocked. Like AI's come that far. Wow. Sora AI. I've seen some stuff last time, making some videos, but this is like a level up. And then also floods in Punjab, Pakistan, India. Okay, I looked at this immediately and knew it was a fake one because the buildings are exactly the same. There's no trash floating anywhere. It's completely clean. And you say, oh, that's so demeaning to say there's trash flowing everywhere. So this is what I mean when there's trash floating everywhere, because they don't have irrigation systems and water catchment projects that can exit the water. So everything that was on the streets is turning up in the flood waters, just flowing somewhere. This is what the streets look like. That's how I knew it was a fake one. And if you think you're having a bad day, put it in perspective. Oh, my car. And these guys are just standing around the rocks. Oh, look out, my friend. And as the days cool down and you're outside working a lot more, exercising a lot more because it's pleasant to be outside, please remember your rehydration Perform Light. Visit them, vni.life/civilization. You can use the code CYCLE20 to take 20% off your order. Help support the channel every purchase you make. I do appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of the video. All those links are below, as well as vni.life/civilization. Click and go and keep us on air. Independent journalism. I will see you next time. Bye for now.